Congressman Khanna is following in the footsteps of Kamala Harris and calling for radical changes to the court, such as packing it with more liberal-leaning justices. Meanwhile, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson claims the high court needs to stay out of politics, even as she takes a veiled shot at her conservative colleagues on the bench.
We have a whole political apparatus going on in this country, and especially in an election year, and courts are apolitical. We have to be clear. We have to be really, really clear about when we make decisions in cases that have a political valence to them. Everyone believes that the court system is outside of the political sphere.
Yeah, these complaints come after the court ruled against Democrats in several race-based redistricting fights, disrupting their plans to disenfranchise Republican voters across the country. Joining us now for tonight's big close-up is a member of the House Oversight and Armed Services Committees, California Congressman Khanna. Congressman, thank you for joining us. We didn't play that part, but in your comments about the decisions of the Supreme Court, you took on the ruling that, about race-based congressional districts. You said, I think you said 25% of the population is black. I think you used South Carolina as an example. They won't have a majority black district anymore. I'm just curious your thoughts on, you're worried about the Supreme Court. Your idea is to put two members on there pretty much with every president. And my question to you is, we're in a place now to where Congress is so divided that you can't do regular order. You can't do things normally. You can't do things the way you have forever, like fund the government, because you're having to go through reconciliation to even get money through, because everybody's fighting over everything, and you're 50% one side, 50% the other. The Senate has a made-up filibuster at this point that stops things from going through. Why do you think turning the Supreme Court into essentially the same thing, where it has higher turnover, where you have partisan appointments every presidential election, why do you think that makes it better?
Let me answer your question. First of all, thank you for having me on, despite President Trump posting on Truth Social that I shouldn't be allowed back on Fox. He didn't like last time I came on and talked about Chinese steel in Ohio and talked about a vision for bringing steel and shipbuilding back. But to answer your question, I actually want to depoliticize the court. Term limits are very popular. Why should we have justices there for 40, 50 years? Republicans, independents, Democrats can agree. Let's have term limits, 18 years on the court, and then you're out. By the way, I support term limits for members of Congress and senators, too. 6 terms in the House, 2 terms in the Senate. And secondly, I've said, let's have a president get 2 appointments. Every president gets 2 appointments, and that would depoliticize the court, because you wouldn't have a fight that some presidents are going to get 3 or 4 appointments, or some presidents are only going to get 1 or 2.
Real quick, would you grandfather in the justices that are there and impose this term limit on new justices? Because, I mean, obviously, we know that you're a Democrat and you're not happy about the makeup of the current court. So would you use this literally for the future rather than as a way to change things now?
The bill I have grandfathers the current justices in. Now, I strongly disagree with their decisions on voting rights, but the bill it grandfathers them in, and it's 18 years going forward.
Okay.
No. Congressman, I just want to clear up something. You said the court should be apolitical. I heard Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson say the same thing. Did you support her appointment to the court?
I did.
Okay, so if you're saying you supported her and you have seen some of the rulings that she has made in the brevity of her time on the court, it seemed fairly obvious that she is not operating apolitically. I think that's a pretty fair statement. And so as I say that, how can you then make the argument that by expanding the court somehow we'll end up with a less political court?
Why do you say she's not acting apolitically? I mean, she's supported voting rights. That is something Dr. Martin Luther King fought for. That's something John Lewis fought for.
You don't end up 8-1 as often as she ends up 8-1 if you're not operating politically. And I think I could go a step farther and make the suggestion that... Yeah, go ahead.
It just could be she's doing her conviction. In fact, that shows she's not
But that's
considering
not the-
politics, that she's even willing to.
Her conviction.
Her conviction
dissent
is
from-
not the rule of law. It's got to be the rule of law, not just your conviction. That's the argument I think you would make too,
Well,
right?
Yeah, but in Plessy versus Ferguson, we celebrate Justice Harlan's dissent, lone dissent, because that was his interpretation of what the Constitution was. I believe she's acting as what she thinks the Constitution requires. Now, she has a belief that we should have a democracy that respects every person, regardless of their race, and that we need to have a cohesive multiracial democracy. But I believe she is looking at the Constitution through her lived experience and lens and coming to decisions on that. Now, obviously, she has a liberal perspective. She was appointed by President Biden, and I have no doubt that if you have a conservative, they will appoint someone who has a conservative perspective. But this is why I say, why not have term limits for 18 years and every president gets 2 appointments?
Very interesting. I wish we had more time to dig into that one. But we have to move on to this. I'm excited to ask you about it, Congressman. The DNC finally released their autopsy of the 2024 election, and President Trump is having a lot of fun with it.
Did you see they did an autopsy on why they lost the election? And they said you lost the election because of Trump primarily. But other than Trump, you lost the election because you had crappy candidates and you had bad policy. And they didn't know how to speak properly, and they weren't smart people, and various other reasons. I could have given them the autopsy without any charge at all.
Well, now calls are growing for a DNC Chairman Ken Martin to step aside as your colleagues express a lot of frustration with that report.
The DNC has got to do a lot better if they're going to meet this moment in history. My advice to the party leaders is that be less concerned about the party and far more concerned about the American people.
This was an incredibly shoddy and incomplete report. I can understand why Ken Martin did not want to release it originally, but of course that became an issue in itself. He should have ripped off the Band-Aid earlier.
Congressman, I know you've had your own criticisms of the autopsy, probably for different reasons than I would, but they put this thing out because it leaked, and then they had to own it. It obviously wasn't ready for prime time. It looked like a Timu ChatGPT wrote it, to be very kind. Why do you think Democrats lost so badly in 2024? And do you think that your party has changed at all since then?
We lost because we were supporting foreign wars. We lost because we weren't willing to call out the corruption in the government. We lost because we weren't willing to say that the working class was shafted. Now, here's the irony. President Trump ran on all of this, but he's gotten us into a war in Iran. He's given a blank check to Netanyahu. I'd rather us be focused on Team America. He's out there begging for Chinese investment to come into America to set up Chinese factories. What's that all about? And the prices are up. Price of food is up. Price of gas is up. I call for a new economic patriotism that's actually going to build industry here, that's going to make sure that we take on the corrupt Epstein elite. And that type of vision, I think, can win. So I actually agree with President Trump that we didn't campaign on the bread and butter issues of in 2024, but he's betraying a lot of what he talked about.
Congressman, when you say, of course, I know that your criticism is the omission of Gaza and Israel and all that. Your party's got a real problem in a lot of cases. I'm not saying you in particular, but many in your base have a problem.
Congressman Khanna, you said that Israel is an apartheid state. You said they've committed genocide. That's your position. That is the mainstream position of your party at this point, right?
It is, and not only that, but also the candidates that are winning by and large are, or at least that are your candidates going into this midterm, are far left socialists. We have Mamdani here in New York City. So you're talking about the working class, and I know the platform that you just gave to us there, but your candidates would say otherwise. It seems very extreme. Seems anti-American in a lot of regards. Do you think that your party has learned anything? I don't think that the Democrat Party is giving us what you just tried to sell us.
Let me give you both answers on Israel and on the economy. First of all, I'm for Team America. Why are we giving $3 billion of our taxpayer money to Netanyahu and Israel when they've got a $45 billion defense budget? You know, I'd rather put that in steel in America. I'd rather put that in a check to folks who have a higher gas bill. And there are a lot of Republicans under 50 who are tired of us giving that kind of money to Israel in a blank check and who didn't agree with what Netanyahu did in Gaza. So I believe actually that my position can get a lot of Republicans under 50, many of your viewers under 50, many of the people Thomas Massey won in his election. On the economy, I call myself a progressive capitalist. My district is $18 trillion in Silicon Valley, more wealth being generated than anywhere ever in the world, in history. I agree, America is a force for wealth generation, but why shouldn't that be also in places like Pennsylvania, where I grew up, in Ohio, in Michigan? My vision is that it shouldn't be an unfair and lopsided economy controlled by a few Silicon Valley billionaires. Let's invest in manufacturing. Let's invest in trade schools. Let's make sure the working class gets stock and gets a share in the profits. And I think that can be something that unifies us. I call it a new economic patriotism.
Congressman Khanna, President Trump is working this holiday weekend to hammer out a peace deal with Iran, and you say Congress should have passed the War Powers Act 2 months ago to end the conflict. But do you support the negotiations with Iran right now?
I do. I appreciate the president is negotiating. I've said if he negotiates, I will support him. I'm not partisan in that way. I never thought we should have gone to a war in the first place. The question is he going to get a better deal than Obama? Obama had 97% of the enriched uranium out. Let's see what the details are. And is he going to get them to commit to not building or enriching any more uranium? But I've always been for a diplomatic solution, and I'm glad that the president finally seems to be rejecting the Lindsey Graham wing of the party and sitting down and trying to get this war to end. I don't want food prices up. I don't want gas prices up. Why are Americans paying with higher prices on their ground beef and barbecue, higher gas prices for something going on in Iran? It just doesn't make sense. Let's be for prioritizing our country.
Before we go, can you answer this question? Are you for full transparency on stock trading for members of Congress? And do you support legislation that would ban members like yourself from doing that?
I don't trade stocks. No one in my family trades stocks. I am for banning stock trading, and I am completely for banning it not just for members of Congress, not just for the Senate, but also for the president and the vice president. I have co-sponsored the Trust Act to do that,
right.
And I was one of the original leaders for that.
And you're committed to transparency about your trading, or those that I believe run the purse strings for you and your family's trading?
Well, I do not trade. My wife doesn't trade. There's an independent trust like the Trust Act requires, and I have filed the disclosures for that every day. But I am absolutely committed to it because I already comply with it, and I believe that every member should not trade stocks, just like I don't trade stocks. And it should be in a trust managed by a third party. And that same should be the case for the president, vice president, senators, and members of Congress. That's been my position since I've been in Congress.
All right.
I can agree with you on that one. Listen, you have a way of bringing amicable ideas to the table. The problem is when I go see the highlight reel of all your hits, there's some far left inflammatory stuff there too. If I could just ask you, if you would bring this amicable personality to the White House, I think you might find someone in President Trump that would sit down and talk with you. Maybe that'll happen soon because you obviously.
Maybe he's watching your show. Maybe he's watching your show and I'll get an invitation.
You know what? I would love for him to be watching our show. I hope that he's finalizing a deal to get the win we need in Iran that we've been fighting for. Congressman Khanna, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is kind of the problem. You know, earlier I pressed Ken Paxton pretty hard because I want people to come on here and bring truthful answers of substance. And I'm not saying he was being untruthful, but I don't want a campaign slogan. I want an answer. Yep. And that's why I pressed him on this idea that, well, the Supreme Court's, you're not happy with it right now.
Yeah. So
would you want to fix it now or in the future? And so those are the kind of questions, just like with the stock trading, where where sometimes we just don't get a straight answer. And I appreciate the fact that he's willing to come on here and give those answers. Tommy, what's your take?
Well, I'll tell you this. He spits a good game.
Yeah.
He spits a good game, and those on social media are going to say, why did Tommy and Joey and Kevin and Alicia not go after him harder? We have a specified amount of time we need to keep our discussions in. I wish we could do it all day because we would all enjoy that, right?
Sure.
He hits a nerve with people that are like, why are we spending money on foreign countries? And I understand his concern there. It's not necessarily a liberal one, right? But this notion that President Trump is just doing this in Iran because he feels like it is disingenuous. I would also say, people might be frustrated with foreign investment. A lot of Americans are also frustrated with the foreign coming to the United States and then us having to invest in it by way of illegal aliens.
That's such a good point. You know, he uses this, well, we need to focus on America. Why are we messing with Iran? There's 700,000 Americans that have dual citizenship with Israel. There are Americans in Israel. There were Americans that were taken hostage on October 7th. Israel is an American issue by birthright at this point. Now, that doesn't mean that it's our country or another state, but it's a more complicated issue than simply let them deal with that. Also, I fought that war. I know how much that enemy hates us too, and President Trump knows that as well. You can't be the party of open borders and criticize the president for wanting to go after a sworn enemy because they're also the enemy of Israel and use that as some scapegoat. And Kevin?
No, I was just going to say, you know, one of the things about Congressman Khanna, twofold. Number one, I think Tommy nailed it. He's very smooth. He's very good. He's likable. Should he run for the White House, and I predict he probably will, a lot of people will definitely find his story compelling, his ability to communicate compelling. But there's a problem here that you have to keep your mind on. You can't, in one instance, pitch great policy ideas and then not actually get out there and walk the walk. Now, he made the argument that, listen, I promoted this legislation, that all sounds great. But when your party's policies run absolutely opposite of what you're talking about, either maybe you ought to think about running in a different party, or your party is going to have to make some major changes if you're going to make a broad national campaign. But I think that may be in his future.
Yeah, he's been trying to get the War Powers Resolution to a vote. It looked like it was going to be close. Republicans say reportedly didn't have the votes. So, I mean, he has something there, and he's talking about the economy. We appreciate him coming on and going to battle with folks here because we need that, and Americans need that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.